And we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 136 of the Fans of Power podcast. I'm Tyler Baker, and Joe Amato is here with us, as always. I couldn't imagine saying anything else. Joe, I couldn't do this show without you, just so you know that. I don't think it could be one of those things where, you know, Joe decides, you know what, I'm a big star here. I'm going to pull a Suzanne Summers and lead the show, and now I've got to find a mass replacement to fill in the hole, and I go through like multiple mass replacements, and then the show just kind of bottoms out because the you imagine like the true Hollywood story of the Fans of Power podcast, like the fame and the women and the drugs and the rock and roll lifestyle just got to them and just tore them apart.
Those crazy stories. No, man. Oh, definitely. Same thing, man. Can't do the show without you, also. And first of all, let me say hello to everyone in the chat room. We got Chris Simpson. We got Adam Gabbert. We got Eric Amen. We have Zentron. We have Zen Brown. I sometimes wonder if Zen Brown and Zentron, if you guys are brothers related. It's just kind of cool having two Zens there. But, well, either way. And JSP, and we got Grimbot. And Jason Bean has joined us. And I'm going to adjust something from Jason Bean. And Val Staples has just popped on as well.
I'll be
So
damned.
I'll Exactly. So I will adjust something to Jason in a minute. But first, is there any recent news you can think of besides, obviously, the cool thing is Super 7 is now taking the pre-orders for the single carded five and a
Yes.
half inch vintage style, Masters of the Universe figures, which is He-Man, Skeletor, She-Ra, Hordak. And what I've seen, and I'm probably just like you in tons of Masters of the Universe groups, and I admin quite a few, the reaction for these is insanity. Don't get me wrong. I see people going nuts for wanting the collectors, choice style figures, the Club Grayskull, the bigger ones, the classic styles figures.
Yes.
But this vintage, it looks like it's just brought like a resurgence of interest because so many of these fans that I've seen in other groups, trust me, there's thousands and thousands, and I see them post a lot. They love their vintage stuff, and they don't really want classics, and vice versa. Don't get me wrong. There's people that love classics, don't care about vintage. Then there's those that that love it all. But these vintage fans have been getting rabid, and what I'd like seeing is, I mean, they're jumping on. I posted the link about. I'm like, oh man, I'm pre-order. I got the pre-order. I put them in because they've seen what happened with those 2 packs that they released, But those, remember, were limited edition, like to I can't remember how many pieces. And when they sold out in a day, people were in panic mode and freaking out. But I tried to let everybody know, don't panic. You're going to be able to get these figures, but I like the excitement. I didn't know if you've seen the same. I just love seeing the interest, of course, in all the stuff.
I hadn't seen the interest, and that's just because I look at the pictures like, all right, that's great. I'll comment or like that, or just remember, okay, I got to make sure I sign up and get mine. But no, I'm glad to hear that. Obviously those throwbacks to the multi packs from the 80s were a big seller, which like shows you the demand for these is still there as long as it's taken to get these things out. I'm definitely going to get a set just because they look great. But knowing that Errol McCarthy did the card art on the back
Isn't that
and just,
cool?
oh
Yeah.
my God, like that tipped it over. Like I was going to get these, but this just kind of locks it in, put it in the bank. It's going in the vault. They got my money. I have yet to do it, but when I say that they've got my money, it's as good as an IOU that Jim Carrey gives to Charles Rocket and Dumb and Dumber. Might want to hold on to that
A,
one.
a whole suitcase full of them.
A
Huh?
whole suitcase of IOUs will be going to Brian Flynn and the man and the good people at Super Seven there
That's as
for
good as
those.
money. Yeah, that's as good as money there.
Yeah. So because plus when you see Hero and Elder on the back, it's a nice reminder that hey, they're coming too. So it's just nice to see the exploding Red Rock again. I
Yes.
miss my chance in the Ultimate Classics, but that Errol McCarthy art, because I know Brian showcased the Skeletor and the Hordak art, which looked damn good. So I can't wait to see what He-Man and She-Ra's looks like. Hopefully there's fights going on too, because I'm always about the fights. When Errol did his card art, I always wanted to see a hero or a villain taking on another one, and not just a nice calm image. Like not that it wasn't beautiful, but it's just fun to see Errol draw, fights, like Fisto fighting Battle Armor Skeletor, or Cyclone fighting Battle Armor Skeletor, or something like that, or
It only
Fisto fighting
complements
Skeletor.
No, but you're right. It only complements the figures that much more because for those who loved and remembered how the style was of all the vintage figures, to see somebody that worked on the original card back,
Yeah.
or to come back, it's like, wow, that's just like icing on the cake. But really quick, Jeff Prime and MOTU fan number one, also thank you for joining us. But no, that's what I like seeing. Also, there was something I noticed and I think it was addressed, they finally were able to post or talk about it on Facebook. But I seen that in back of every figure, it looked like, one of those mock-up
Yes.
mini comic covers, only to find out, I believe they said James Eatock did something to that effect, meaning it's probably Filmation inspired stuff. I could be wrong, but that's what I was seeing in back of characters, if you notice that.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, that there are little, I guess, pack-ins that kind of resemble mini comics
Yeah,
in
and it
those
looked
as
like
well
what they
to help
showed.
complete the package. Yeah.
Right, because I mean, believe me, I was looking obsessively before they said it, but I was like, that kind of looks like Grayskull for He-Man. That looks like Snake Mountain for Skeletor, the Fright Zone for Hordak, and I'm assuming maybe Crystal Castle for She-Ra, but I thought that's what you could make out back in the figure. Did you
Yeah,
see that as well?
I saw that as well. And I think James had something to do with the description on the back of the card art.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
know how there's like a little. So I think that's what James was responsible for. And
Oh, so he didn't
uh,
have anything to do with those mini comic cover things? I didn't know what actually he had something to do with. I
I mean,
assumed
no. As far as I think James has, he may have, but I from what I gather, I think James had something to do with the
writing the
uh,
blurb, like, of when they're
yeah,
battling on the
something
back.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I believe that's what James had um, some saying. And I almost want to say I think Deucin had some sort of contribution to that as well.
I mean,
Um,
hey, it's to be expected. If it was, and if he did, that'd be great because, geez, wherever usually James is, you'll see him as well.
yeah, they pretty much become a tag team. It's you kind of expect them as it's like trying to think of a great Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys. It's they are they're a package. You have to get them. Even though not to say that Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, who eventually did split up at some point, that's not what I'm implying here because we'll always remember great tag teams or a lot of superstars as damn it, you know what? Forget it. Just scrap all that. It's good to see that.
It is.
Bad
Yeah,
analogy there.
because I was going to ask, I was like, wait, were you saying Edge and Christian were the Hardy Boys? I was like, wait, what's he
No, no,
saying?
no, no,
I
no.
think,
Edge and Christian were a great tag team, and so were the Hardy Boys. Like
yeah, yes.
I look more fondly on the Hardy Boys as a tag team than as individual superstars. And of course, Edge was a great single superstar. Anyway, but that's beside the point. But no, I definitely I can't wait to get more of these, and I'm hoping to God that along with Hero and Eldor, that we'll have another batch of vintage style figures of Strong Arm, Lizard Man, Icer, Mash Chakotay, or God, it would be great to get Terror, Hot Shot, Plasmar,
I
and
would love that.
Lord
I would,
in that
yeah,
since they were supposed to come anyway.
that would be
Um,
great to have those figures be in vintage form.
and Slamurai,
Slamerai.
to get Slamurai, and the Snake Trooper, all those figures that we were supposed to get, those should be completed.
And you got to do Strobo,
And
and you got to do Fearless Photog. I think they
yes,
deserve it as well. I remember waiting for Fearless Photog, only to, of course, the line went away. You didn't get it, but Strobo as well. And to see would they have some kind of cool little feature with his centerpiece lighting up or something. I don't know.
no, that would be awesome. I think that should be a real strong point for Brian Super 7 is to push to complete what we were supposed to get in the vintage line. I would be happy with that before we would get characters like Lizard Man and Strong Arm, because who's going to argue, because we were supposed to have gotten this in '88. I'd like to have a complete vintage run of figures, and I'd like to get what we were supposed to get before we venture into territories that were not really looked upon as deeply as that batch of figures there. Also, before I move on to another point too, our good buddy Val let us know that Mattel's going to be at PowerCon this year.
Oh, they are.
And I have seen that Mattel is going to be doing something at San Diego as well with their fanny pack that resembles He-Man's belt and loincloth and masks
I
and
see.
stuff.
I like the
But
mask. You know me, I kind of like the masks a little bit more than the fanny pack.
the fanny pack, I'm not going to buy any of them, but it was still. And there's a T-shirt I think by Christopher Cone. I think designed like a slime pit T-shirt. But
good to see Chris doing some
yeah,
stuff for Masters as well, because I know he's been wanting to do that. I mean, that's a dream of his all these years. So when I seen, wow, Chris Pacone and that cool slime pit T-shirt, I was like, that's pretty. It's damn cool. I mean, to live your dream and have something like that come true, you got to be feeling really great for the guy.
Absolutely, and it looked great as well. And it just made me wonder because Brian had said that they were holding back on the vintage stuff because Mattel had interest in kind of being a participant in this whole vintage relaunch, so to speak. So it makes you wonder with them showing up at San Diego, is it strictly just for these kind of knick-knack novelty items, or is their end game not only there but at PowerCon? Like we're gonna announce something big regarding He-Man from our end, not
That would be
just
nice. That
kind
would
of
be
a
nice.
novelty thing. Like, are we going to be getting Hero and Eldor with Mattel's input? Are we going to be getting new stuff from Mattel? Like, I'd like to think that they're making a point to make these appearances not just to sell some knickknacks. I'm not trying to downplay that stuff, but
No, I
when you
understand.
tell
It
me
would
when
seem like
Mattel is involved, I want to hear big movements. I want to hear like big announcements that things are coming down the pipeline. What can we expect?
yeah, because there
And that
hasn't been a really big participation when it comes to Mattel recently in
no,
Masters of the Universe at conventions. So I could understand. You're right. If they popped up at PowerCon, you figured, do they have something big they're going to announce? You can only hope so, because while, like you said, the masks are cool, the cool art and the fanny pack, it's like, yeah, if you guys made announcements, something in regards to the actual figures, the property, or stuff at retail, or maybe, hey, there's actually something happening with a cartoon or something, anything weird that would just blow us out of our socks, or blow our socks off. That'd be great.
yeah, I'd like to think that they are Mattel. They're a major company. So to make a point to show up at a convention and at Comic Con pushing a product that you guys haven't had much to do with in a long time, I like to think that it's not just to push some accessories and attire. I really want to believe that they got something coming and they're going to save it for the proper time to this stuff is to initially pique people's interest into like, hey, look, while we're there, you can get this stuff. But we'll have some announcements coming. Maybe they'll make the announcement at San Diego, but showcase the actual items themselves at PowerCon. I don't know, but I think,
Possibility.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
possibility.
just good to hear that they're getting back into it. And I hope they have some good stuff for us. Um, before Joe, what do you got
Well,
next in terms
I
of like
wanted to address. Well, there's two fans that had some kind of questions, and I wanted to address it, at the beginning before we get into all our topics and what you have to say as well. But one of my friends on Facebook, Jason Bean, and he's joining us here in the chat room as well. He said, I have not collected any Masters of the Universe figures since I was a kid in the 80s. He said, except for the Loyal Subject line. He said, the Super 7 vintage figures have caught my eye because they have the same style as what I remember from the 80s. He said, so while researching this vintage line, he said, it looks like it's brand new. He says, are there only four so far? And that's why I was going to let him. Well, it's the four you've seen. And of course, we have Eldor and Hero that hopefully will be with the Powers of Grayskull packaging that was planned for him. But also, I thought they showed Beastman and Man at Arms in vintage form at one of the previous conventions,
yeah.
right? Okay. So we asked that, and he said, also, he said, Super 7 has the vintage line, the Club Grayskull line, and the Classics line. He says, which of those lines is the one that collectors are the most enthusiastic about? Well, Jason, as you heard when I started the show, I see they're enthusiastic about it all. They love their figures, whether it's the classic styles, 6.5 to 7 inch, or the 5.5 inch vintage. But it definitely seems like this vintage stuff, it's creating a buzz in a lot of the Facebook groups, getting people excited. So that's what I've noticed. And Tyler, I'm sure you've seen your reactions from different fans as well. But that's what at least I've picked up so far.
I'm always going to pay more attention, a little bit more to the collector's choice line, just because it's
Oh, they're great. They're
pushing.
great.
Yeah, it's just getting deeper and deeper into the gallery of heroes and villains that we have, pined for, and the more obscure, the better. Um, that's what I get more excited for. I mean, I'm all about this vintage line, but until we get that Hero and Eldor, I think my enthusiasm will be at the ceiling. It'll shatter through once we get Hero and Eldor
That'll be great.
and other characters that are not just He-Man, Skeletor, She-Ra, Hordak. That those are your basic figures, which is great. I'm not trying to downplay that. I always get more excited when you're giving us
New
other
things.
characters
Oh, yes.
outside the box of that. So yeah, if we
Just like
if we
when you
get
were a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm pushing for this in vintage style. Like that's what I'm really excited for. But I always get more excited to see the classics figures revealed because I've been on such a drug high of that for so long that
Oh, definitely. It's been a
when you
while.
don't get those reveals, it's you just kind of go into this deep dark depression. Your lips get all crusted up like Chris Rock and New Jack City, and you're scratching your neck, man. Just like hanging around, man. Any more reveals? You got any more reveals, man?
Wow, what a reference there. That's great.
You
Scratching
know
like that. You're right.
that's what it feels like because I love knowing who do I have the opportunity to purchase. Like who is it I've got to make sure I've got the money for. I love that anticipation and that excitement, and then seeing the buzz. That is something I do check out fans' remarks when they revealed Karg and Dialemug and Granada and Rap Trap and the rest of the Filmation line. It was just fun to see all the enthusiasm,
That is
for
always
all
great.
those characters.
And that's what you want. You want to see the enthusiasm. Sometimes you're right. Some people can, be a little too critical on some looks or a figure or what they want. But hey, if they just keep pumping the things out, you're bound to get what you want. But they all look great. Now see what I just did. It's something I haven't done in a while, which is going to lead to another question. Michael Warren on Facebook, he contacted me and he said, Joe, he says, I love listening to your podcast with you and Tyler Baker. He said, but I have one thing. What's happened to Hype Joe? And I said, I typed back, I know what that means. I know hype. I mean, just like you, I was like, what do you mean Hype Joe? He's like, well, before when you used to do your other podcast, Global Masters, he said you were so excited. You were revealing and talking about all the figures and things that were coming out. And he said, you actually got me to buy a subscription because you were so excited. He says, but I haven't heard that from you in a while. And he was like, what's the deal? And I said, I'll address that on the show. Well, I think basically now I'll address him, but the, okay, back then when I was doing the other podcast, you were basically getting a figure every month. So I would talk about that figure, and then when the subscriptions were going on, I was hyping that. But when it changed and you weren't getting your figure every month, it's not that I didn't want to hype it. It's just like, well, what can I hype when I don't have that figure every month? Because as you see, like when you get them from Super 7, you'll get a cluster of like what, 4 figures in one big lump, like you
Yeah.
get your, yeah. So, which is cool, but since it's one lump thing instead of spreading out every month, that's why you haven't heard it. So believe me, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just I can't talk every month about it because it's not every month. But as you've seen, I just hyped up all the cool stuff that's coming, and you never know. Maybe there'll be that day where you get a figure every month, spread between the different lines, of course, from the classics, grayscale, and vintage. But of course, I like being hype about the stuff. But yeah, I just had to address that. I figured you knew where I was going with that when the guy asked the question.
No, I had no idea about that, but I do agree. I think it's hurt a lot of the enthusiasm in recent years without having that constant stimulation for casual fans, uh, standard fans, hardcore fans. You constantly had that excitement every single month, and I think it's hurt. The community some that they don't have that fix every single month to kind of always remind you in the back of your head. You get your monthly dose of He-Man, or sometimes 2-3 doses of He-Man a month, depending on what was being released. Um, but it is awesome, to get 8 figures at once. I mean, it's quite the adrenaline rush that, but yeah, I understand Joe's point on that as well. I mean, we you can get excited once it's first revealed, but then you got to push to make sure the subs are going that keep people excited and interested in these subs and things. But then after that, you kind of just lays dormant for quite a while, and you know that's what our show is about: is to keep people interested and excited about. Well, until the new toys come out, you can always check out mini comics and episodes and live action movie and magazines and backstories and history and trivia. That's why we do this, is to kind of fill in the gaps until there's something that the general audience can get excited about. It's like what Bill Murray says in Ghostbusters 2. There are some things in this world that can't be explained. Something that people don't want to know about. That is where we come in. And
Yes.
that is what me and Joe do. That's why we do this podcast every week. It's just a constant reminder that there's so much more to it. I mean, the toys are what keep us here. That's what got us all started for the most part. So I understand the importance of that, but it's not just toys, guys. And it's nice to know that these toys have stories. They have character development. They have adventures and things. And honestly, I like to see more than just Cyclone sitting on a shelf. I like to see Cyclone, you know, helping He-Man and Mossman fight the Beast monster on the cliffs of the Fright Zone in a painting by Earl Norm, and stuff like that. So it's
Oh, and that's what's good about when you see any type of new merchandise or anything. At least it's keeping Masters relevant to some extent. Whether people love or hate the loyal subjects or the little minifigures or the Pint Science heroes or whatever, hell, it's something out there. It's keeping it relevant, and it will always bring some people back who forgot about Masters. Just like Jason Bean said in the chat room, he sees these vintage ones and bam, it kind of sparked his interest back. I mean, you wonder like how many people have maybe seen the classic figures and thought, cool, but it just didn't give them that childhood feeling. Or how many haven't seen nothing? But now that there's so many groups spawning and people are popping up on Facebook, you're bound to see Masters one way or another in some figure form or some art or something for Princess of Power and a new She-Ra cartoon, something that gets you excited again. So that's what's great about having as much stuff as possible because it can bring them people back that have been gone for a long time.
Yeah, and it is shocking because I used to wonder, like, how is it that people aren't aware of classics? Because Joe would tell me, or you'd hear that some people were not aware of it and things like that in various places. And I guess too, to the general audience, I mean, it really comes down to what's available immediately because you may see certain things on online stores, but I mean, like with classics, unless you went to Matty Collector or Mattel's website, for the most part, you just didn't know they were there because not a lot of online toy stores carried them, like other than like Big Bad Toy Store or places that would buy them wholesale. But it was not a heavily marketed toy line. So it's much like Hasbro's GI Joe collectors line. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of GI Joe fans were not aware that they've been doing that collectors line for quite some time and doing the obscure characters, much like with classics. But because it's not a mainstream thing, it's something you have to sign up for to get those things. It makes it harder to get the word out that you can get new He-Man figures every month or in a lump sum.
It's a lot. You're right. It's a lot of factors. Oh, and first, Colin Colt for thank you for joining us in the chat room. But no, there are a lot of factors. It's what you just said there, and also when you think a lot of people, which I've dealt with, made things for, or when they finally came onto Facebook and started talking about He-Man, some of them don't like going into groups and usually posting. They feel uncomfortable. Maybe they didn't know about them, or you think about in real life aspect. They can at their leisure, they can go to a store and walk in a toy aisle. These people that are in the stores are strangers, and if they see something they like, they buy it, go home and enjoy it. But you might not see them buying that figure and posting because some of their family, members might think, "Oh God, you're collecting these toys." I've seen a lot of people not want to post about their figures, because
God. I still to this day, I mean, I still hate that people still have that feeling, and a lot of it's due to that stigma that's placed upon. I mean, hell, we're in this day and age where people are walking around in superhero T-shirts and various Star Wars and Star Trek shirts, but you still got people and families or coworkers or whatever the loved ones, whatever the case may be, that will see people post pictures of Triclops from Filmation or their Silverhawks collection, and they just have to go out of their way to take it. I think what you're doing is silly and childish, and I wanted you to know that.
To go out of their way to do that, to try to shame somebody for anything they like. I mean,
it's
that's
like, who the hell are
up.
you? I was like, all right, how about you stick to posting, your opinions on, proper toilet paper use or some nonsense, whatever. Some people decide I have to post this thought, this idea before I start my day. People must know how to wipe your ass properly according to my book of life. Whereas this guy just wants to say, hey, buddies of mine, I want you to check out my laser power laser light Skeletor that I just got. I wasn't able to get it. What a weirdo. He's not talking about how to wipe your ass properly. Let's have him cast out and stoned and drawn and quartered, and then we all point and laugh at him too when we're done.
No, you're right. To do that to anybody, it's childish. But what's great is seeing some of these people no longer really caring to where they're finally showing their stuff. There was times where they didn't want to do it in groups or on their wall, but they're like, I don't care. This is what I enjoy. If you guys like collecting sports memorabilia or any other objects or fine pieces of art and paintings, do that. And now people are starting to show their collection. And it seems like hopefully there's going to be less and less of these people that have to, like you said, find the need to give their opinion just to shoot somebody down. But that is, and that's why I think more people are finding out about the figures is they're finally going into groups. They're opening up. They're asking people stuff like, where did you get that? Where did that come from? And I love it because otherwise it is a lot of them going to the stores, buying stuff, and if a He-Man figure happened to be there, like when those little Mega Constructs
Yeah.
figures came out, like Faker, I seen plenty of people, look at this man, He-Man's back in the store with Faker. I'm like, wow, they don't know that He-Man's been back a while, but that's their only, way of experiencing it is going to the store. So that's why it's good. There's some things in some capacity. It'd be great if some of the bigger figures and things made it back to retail someday, but we don't know when that will happen. But if it does, that'll be great.
You know what, and I as much as it would be fun for us to deal with retail, to have that convenience and know it's back in toy stores. I'm getting to the point where I really enjoy having a toy line that's made exclusively to us, and that we're not worrying about, oh, the stories of, well, is your Walmart, do they still have uh Karg on the shelf? Because mine's sold out. Well, here in Missouri, Rat Traps fit clogging the shelves, like no one's buying that. And then you start hearing this tornado spin of, well, it looks like the line's going to get canceled because people aren't buying enough Kargs and Rat Traps, but they're buying a lot more of Granada because she's harder to find, or she's more expensive because she's the female, or whatever the case may be. And then it gets canceled. And then we have to go through the heartbreak and heartache of knowing that, oh, this didn't happen. And then we're all spending time coming up with theories as to why it didn't work or why it didn't sell. Whereas with this, it's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not as much fun as running to as many Targets and Walmarts as you can possibly stand in a day looking for the figures that you're missing.
I
At
guess
least
the
this
only
way,
thing.
we know what we're getting.
Oh,
We're
true.
not,
No,
and we know, because if it fails, it's because clearly we know people clearly didn't sign up enough. There wasn't enough people subbing up for it, or someone, they lost the rights to do it. Like, I feel like this
oh,
way at least leaves us not questioning so much. Whereas with retail, we're all going to be fighting for logic as to why we lost our beloved
and
toy
we
line.
do, and we do that quite a bit. I mean, it's expected. But I guess the one reason I would love to see it return to retail is just the thought of will, like, let's say the vintage style with that explosive red and black brick packaging, the ones that caught our eyes as kids even before the cartoon happened. But of course, when the cartoon happened, they even made it more just that's icing on cake. Everybody's jumping nuts. But you wonder, would there be that new generation, like if they're walking down the toy aisle, would that catch their eyes like it did for us, and just bam, cause a surge where they want to get it? Because of course you want new collectors into the line along with us, but it would be nice. Like right here in the chat room, like Eric Amon, he said he didn't even hear of classics until 2015.
What?
And yep, hey, that's what I mean. A lot of people just
Let's all stop and make fun of him. Everyone in the chat room. Let's all make fun of Eric.
let's
Because he
all
just came to the
is
game late.
is there a point finger where everybody could do that? And Justin Hune has just joined us. Thank you. But even Chris Simpson, he said he had a friend of him ask him last week where he could get He-Man for his kid. So like, there's still people that are now when they're seeing it again, like, oh, where can I get He-Man? So it'd be pretty cool. But that spawned from all the stuff that I mentioned earlier. So awesome. But now I'm going to pass it to you, Tyler, because you had something you were going to do before we get into some of our topics, something you want to
Yes,
cover.
yes. I talked to my buddy Axel Jimenez recently, and we both agreed on this, that this was something that we both wanted to see come to fruition. Um, and that's the is that's pushing to finalize the remaining, because we I mentioned this briefly, but in classics form, to finalize the last batch of characters that we were supposed to get in '88, which would be Slamurai and the Snake Trooper. And Axel's done some beautiful designs, and I'll use his designs to I did to get people's attention for the show. I'll use the rest of them to promote the show afterwards as well, because he also did a bunch of characters that expanded upon the Snake Men, and I'll dig into that in a moment here. But I really wanted to stress that if people are interested in getting Slamurai, which, if you don't know who he is the white ninja. And so if you see a ninja fighting Lord Grasp or something, that's not ninja, it's Slamurai, a white ninja, the good ninja, I guess you could so to speak. That Axel threw him in the PowerCon box art that was done for the PowerCon exclusives last year, hiding in the background, getting ready to fire a bow and arrow, and then the Snake Trooper, which was featured on a lot of Errol McCarthy's prototype card art for prototypes that were coming out of the Snake Troopers. Axel and I both really would love to see this come to fruition, and I if people want those, I want them to address. If you're listening to this, whatever point, wherever I post the podcast, or just post it Super Sevens, Facebook page, their Twitter, Instagram. Let Brian Flynn know personally. Send him a message. Let Axel know. Let Val know. Let any of us know. Me, Joe. If you want to see the rest of these figures, because I want Slamurai. I want them really bad, and to know that another trooper like the Snake Men have, either for the Snake Men or the Horde have another army builder with black armor and various, with various snake heads that Axel designed. What's that, Joe?
Yeah, that's great. Just to think, you could have more of the army builders, but you would then have your other ninja to fight Ninja, or like you said,
yes.
the black outfit and the one in the white outfit. It's cool. And I know a lot of people will reference like, hey, you got that from G.I. Joe. It's like, no, it's just hell. It's just
G.I. Joe isn't the only one who did ninjas. Yes, ninjas were a big part of G.I. Joe, but
how many ninja movies did you watch growing up? Martial arts movies where they had ninjas in white, red, yellow, black, all sorts of colored outfits.
Yeah, to sit there and say that they stole from G.I. Joe, no, that's clearly you don't know much about popular culture in the 80s then. And Axel's design of Slamurai, whereas in the card art that Errol did, you just see this white ninja, and I didn't know it was somebody different upon first glance at the character. But Axel did this beautiful white and sky blue color scheme for him. I'm like, God, that looks good. That looks so good. So that's something that me and him both really talked good about, and that's something I think if you want to see more of these characters, or these the army builder of the snake trooper and Slamurai, we need to get the word out and tell Super 7, let's complete this last batch. It's two figures.
And I don't think it'd be hard at all to do either, because one is basically Ninja with some new kind of boots, and of course other little details. And then how hard is it going to be to have a Horde trooper and one of the snake, warriors or something, like the army builders of the Snake Men or something, or even Ratlord's head, and just pop it on there in a different color. It's like, there you go. It's done. It's quick.
Yeah, and Axel even he used Tongue Lasher's head and colored it blue. He did he did Rattler's head and colored it green, and then he gave like a dark helmet, no pun intended for Spaceballs reference there, but a dark colored Horde Trooper helmet, and called it like the Dark Trooper variant. So yes, it would be very, very easy to do these two figures, but I mean, all it takes is just putting a comment or a like, or just writing on Brian Flynn's Super 7 Facebook page, or letting any of the powers that be know that you're interested in seeing these last two figures come to fruition. And on top of that, the Snake Man expansion, I mean, Axel's done Fangor, which I think everybody by this point is familiar with. So on top of Fangor, he's done Lady Slither, which we have seen snippets of before. And he's done Viper, which clearly is a take on the Viper Tower of the Three Towers. The Snake Trooper, Quick Flick, which I believe was not his original creation. I believe that goes to Nate. I forgot his last name. Axel will kill me for that one. But I believe Axel modified that design for Quick Flick. Stretch Neck, Reptalix, and their own robot called Golden Rod, which is a mixed parts of Multibot and Roboto. It's like a solid gold shade robot for this batch of Snake Men. And so when you look at those, like, why can't we have those? Why can't the Snake Men be just as big as the Horde?
Yeah,
when you see all these original Snake Men, just make it.
I mean, you got a ton of evil warriors. You have a ton of Horde members. So yes, to expand the Snake Men and their army would be great. To finally bring in a female Snake Warrior in Lady Slither, whether she would have, the snake bottom or legs, interchangeable parts or whatever. Either way, it's like, how cool would that be to have that also? So yeah, I'd love to see the Snake Men expanded upon, just like every other faction, because
I mean,
they're
hell,
not that.
with this, I'd even be fine with this being a separate Snake Men faction, like one that's separate from the Snake Men. I mean, who's to say that just because they're Snake Men, it's one race? Like, why can't there be a different faction led by Lady Slither, who runs this batch of Snake Men? Then you got King Hiss's Snake Men. Then you got the Horde and the Evil Warriors and the Heroic Warriors and the Great Rebellion. So I just look at these, and I mean, Reptalix is taken from the King of the Snake Men mini comic. Is one of the Snake Men that's drawn, turned into a character. Viper is based on the Viper Tower, which I just thought was so cool, and to have a robot that looks heroic, but is a robot of the Snake Men called Goldenrod, which I just thought, God, it looks so cool.
Definitely better put a Snake Man logo on it, because if you don't, we're gonna have the whole
oh man, they'll be up in arms and arguing over that.
Yeah,
and Axel did design Goldenrod to build your own Aramish from Return of Evil.
I thought it does look like him. Yeah.
Which no. It's
the face
built with additions that you can add on the parts of Aramish to Goldenrod and make Aramish. Like Goldenrod is a separate character, but
with the look or design based off of Aramish, though, correct? At least with the face looks similar.
Well, no, it's got Roboto's head and Multibot's parts like arms and torso and legs with Roboto's head, but it's built so much that you could slip on Aramesh's outfit on top of Goldenrod.
Oh, I didn't look close enough to Goldenrod. I'll be honest, I did not look close enough.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at Goldenrod right now, and it's. I mean, I'll show them to you. Hopefully, it'll come through.
It's a little white. Wait, tilt it down. There. I got it. Oh, it is a Roboto head. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could work perfect. Like you said, adding on the red cape and the different head, I'm sure you could easily get Aramish.
Well, I mean, and he did do that. Like he drew up the Aramish parts and everything. I've never been a fan of the character of Aramish because I thought Return of Evil was such a lame episode. But still, it was still cool to know that he built that for that. But I want to see more of these characters done. Like I'm glad we're getting deeper and deeper in this, because I still want Azrog and Spydra, and so many other Malactha and other obscure characters. But looking at the stuff that Axel has done here, I'm like, I want those too.
And what's great, those are all characters that can work for classics and vintage. That's what's fantastic, depending on how you do it. I mean, would it be great to finish up, like you said, the classics line, with the White Ninja being Slamurai, and of course the Snake Horde Trooper? That'd be great for classics, and I'm hoping it can happen, and it should. But it would also be great if they brought those to vintage form, and yeah, I would kind of lose it. I probably
because all of these, I mean, all this stuff, it's. That's what makes these plans so good, is that he designed them, using the parts, as if you would in the vintage form using the classic parts. So obviously we could do it the same way with the vintage form. Goldenrod would be easy to do. And, I mean, Stretch Neck, I'd love to see how that, because he's got a massively long neck. Like, you think Rattler and Terror got a long neck. Stretch Neck has got a neck that rivals Mechaneck.
Heck, they could maybe use the type of, like for squeeze, that bendy arm, maybe use the way up in that side.
Oh, that would be awesome to see. Have you seen Stretch Neck?
I did. That's why I remembered. I was man, they could easily use like a squeeze arm and have it bend and pop on and stuff. That would be just cool as hell. And then you pop the head on if you have it just in regular, but then do it just like you said for Mechaneck in the extended or stretched mode.
Absolutely. I mean, God, there's just so many possibilities. More figures, more evil characters, more Snake Men, just expanding the universe. And all these characters work. They don't come off as, Sir Laserlot, and stuff like that. Like, these characters look like they belong in classics, not to slam the few Sir Laserlot fans.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I didn't do much slamming, but I'll admit, I do not like Sir Laserlot at all. I'll just let that be right there and open. People remember it then, they can remember it now. I am just not a fan of that character.
That was something when that was announced. I was so glad to hear like the majority of people just did not like that character. And I just felt like, because I kept my silence to myself. Anything I disagree with is the classic Slam is coming. I just kept it to myself. I'm like, nobody cares what I have to say. I'll just stew in silence and be angry, in the confines of my apartment here. But it was so good to see so many people were like, oh, God, I hate that character. And so I know some people probably like the character, but it was one of those things where you felt like, okay, I'm not the only one. Like, same thing with like Snake Man at Arms. Oh, God. Like, I don't. But I really want to push that, and I'll use these to help promote the episode too. So that way, if you're listening to this through Podbean or on YouTube and you haven't seen these pictures yet, Axel has them on his Facebook page. He's easy to check out. Super sweetheart of a guy. If you can't find him, contact him. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to send you what they look like. But I'll be sharing them. I'll be tagging them in it. Tag Joe in it. Um, they're not hard to find. If you want these things, we need to let Super 7 know. So that way, these classic lines keep churning out. We can get all all 7 of these. Well, no, yeah, all 7 of these figures and get Slamurai. We got to get Slamurai, man.
I can even make a post on my wall. I could do that too in some of the groups, and I'll just give the usual yes, no, click this, click that, and see what it pops up.
Yeah, there you go. See, Joe's so much better at that stuff. I don't. I'm not as intricate in making posts and polls like that. I'm just like, hey, you want this stuff? I see Joe's got it so much better than I do. There's things that Joe can do, I can't, and well, it's pretty much it. There's nothing I can do that you can't do, though. What is it since we've been doing this podcast that I can do that you can't?
You can shoot out that damn Filmation knowledge like a champ and quote every episode and things they say, every character, and that's definitely something I can't. I'm sitting there, hey, look at that. Hey, look at this. Like I know something like that one week when I was like, kind of look like Jason Voorhees when he fell in part 4 down like this. I was like, it looks similar.
Oh, yes, which I love how Joe, here I was deliberately letting Joe stroke my ego only just to cut my head off right here because I told Joe last week in a very humiliating fashion, like, Joe, whatever you're talking about, you're grasping at straws. There's no way, and sure enough, there was not just a way, there was a big way that Joe saying that there was reference to Jason Voorhees in the episode Search for a Son that looked like Jason's face from Friday the 13th Part 4, and he posted it, and then I thought, oh, God, I owe this guy a public apology. So, Joe, I'm apologizing to you, to the masses, that I am sorry for doubting you for thinking that there was a reference in Search for the Sun referencing Jason Voorhees. I am sorry because that picture clearly does look like the artichoke-headed Jason Voorhees.
No, again, I appreciate it. It's just I know when I said it, it's so obscure. Who would look at I know almost everything when it comes to Filmation, but something stupid like that.
Yeah, but even the bad episodes are stuff I don't want to know. I don't want to. And Search for a Son, it was cool to see Mechanic. His voice was better. I think Buzzoff has a brief cameo in it. But
yeah, so why would you pick up on the goof? Yeah, you wouldn't pick up on the goof.
It was just something I'm like, you know what? I don't like this episode. And like Star Child, right, Val? I'm not going to have Star Child memorized in any form or fashion. I'm not going to have, what's another terrible episode? The Time Wheel or The Cold Zone. These episodes are Greatest Show on Eternity. There's another one. I mean, they're bad.
Yeah, the only reason it just, like I said, it just caught my eye. But the only main reason I brought it up was like, well, I remember Tyler when he made reference to the guy that worked on Friday the 13th Part 4 with the, that, and also Evil Seed. So I was like, maybe somebody knew somebody that worked at Filmation. So it was it grasping for straws? Probably, but it just was similar. I was like, the two most iconic looks of Jason Unmasked in Part 4 was when the mask got knocked off and he's standing there looking, at Tommy's sister, and then of course, Trish, and then of course at the end when his head went through the machete, and I was like, there's two poses where one's a head and there's a guy that's standing in that pose like Jason too. I was like, just eerie similarity and coincidence, I guess.
And you know what? Since that season of episodes came out in 85, the Friday the 13th Part 4 came out in 84. So it is possible that while in pre-production on those episodes in 84 probably, or maybe early 85, when those episodes like Search for Sun came out, they saw Friday the 13th Part 4, Friends with Barney. Yes, I retract everything that I said last week because it is all plausible. So I throw myself at your feet there, Joe, for your forgiveness of jumping the gun and quickly dismissing you and telling you to take your theory and get the hell out of here.
No problem, man. Nothing to forgive. It's just like I said, just only good fun. But there we got a good talk about Slamurai and the Snake Horde Trooper and a lot of the others. So now I didn't know if you want to go right into talking about kind of the different versions of Hero or the Power of the Evil Horde book, or which one you'd rather do now.
Was there a preference for you? I mean, because I threw out all these to you. Is there one that you would like to send the listeners off with? I mean, would you rather do the character discussion to send the listeners off with, or do you want to do the Horde book?
Let's
To
end
send.
with Hero because
Okay.
that'd be some other interesting stuff. But Power of the Evil Horde, when I first experienced and seen this was, of course, when the internet came around because
Yep.
I
Same
didn't know.
here.
I had no clue about this because that book, along with an audio cassette, was packed in with a 2-pack of Hordak and Grizzlor, which not many people knew about it. I never bought, like I told you before, I had no need to buy the 2 packs with multiple characters or the 3 heroic packs or any of that because I had the figures. And I couldn't remember if this was just at J.C. Penney. I really can't remember where that Hordak Grizzlor 2-pack was. But so when I came online, I seen this like, oh my god, that's got to be the coolest thing ever. But it's so damn expensive, I can't buy it. And eventually going to YouTube and just type in like, I wonder if it might be there. And on YouTube, you type in the Power of the Evil Horde. You not only get to see it, but you get to hear it. And knowing that they had the actual voices from the Filmation cartoon in this, I was like, could you imagine of having that as a kid, how excited you would get, especially after the other record and audio books and, tapes sounded nothing like the
Yep.
cartoon. Of course, some before and after, but now you had one with their voices. But I'll pass it to you. But really, it's a cool twist and take of the Horde and their experiences with them because it's like it's just basically not even it's not talking about the cartoon at all. It doesn't make reference to She-Ra or anything. It feels like it was just meant to sell the toys. And I thought, why the hell did this book and this tape, why didn't it come with the Fright Zone? Because it only made the Fright Zone cooler. You know how there's people on
Yeah.
the fence of, yeah, the toy, they're like, the toy was kind of, I liked it more like the cartoon. But then they drew in the features of everything that happened with that toy in this book, just made it 100 times better.
I almost feel like when people say they don't like the Fright Zone, like they don't get it. I mean, you can say what you want about the Fright Zone, but Castle
It's so
Grayskull and
simple.
Snake Mountain both. It's not like they had all the nooks and crannies of the Filmation, counterparts because they didn't. You only had a few things you could do with Grayskull, a few things you could do with Snake Mountain, and that was it. The rest of it's left to your imagination to, kind of fill in the holes that Grayskull and Snake Mountain did not have, and the Fright Zone is no exception to that. And I didn't realize that till I think Joe had told me that a lot of people just didn't like the Fright Zone, like just thought it was a lame playset. And I didn't own it till high school when I bought it from a guy who put an ad in the trading post for, and I only had to go by the cross sell artwork and pictures of it, and it just looked fascinating to me. Oh, I was like, oh my god, just imagine the kind of playtime I had of just with the Beast Monster hand puppet in the cave, the jail cell, the rock trap in that tree. I mean, it was a simple, small playset, and I just loved how when it was depicted. Because obviously in the mini comics and stuff, they had to make it a little bit more grandiose at times, but displayed, excuse me, depicted in this manner in this book,
By
not to
Bruce
mention
Timm. Yeah.
with Bruce Timm's beautiful, stunning artwork,
Yes.
it
It's
just makes that Fright Zone that much more exciting to me because it's like the one of my favorites is the shot of He-Man approaching the Fright Zone with Montana and Hordak awaiting his arrival and looking at the jail cell, the Beast Monster cave. There's a shot of the rock and the tree. I just find it all exciting because of, well, I get it. I just really feel like that's what it is. People who think it's a lame play set, not all the playsets had a bunch of gadgetry and things like that. There were playsets required you to have some imagination. Not like the GI Joe playsets. They did have a lot of nooks and crannies and details and things, which were great. But it didn't take away from the fact that I could have had a blast with this playset. Oh my god, would I have
and
just
I
had a
did. That's what I mean. It's just you use your imagination. I at no point thought, damn, I wished it was like the cartoon. I enjoyed it as it was. I mean, to use the puppet monster to attack, like when somebody goes and bam, they get caught by that rock trap, and you
yeah.
grab them and you pull them in, or throw them in the jail cell, or they're going along the top of the Fright Zone, and then that tree grabs them. It had so much fun play value. In fact, when you think of it logically, to at least do things as the playset itself, it did quite a bit because okay, Castle Grayskull. Don't get me wrong, damn do I love Castle Grayskull, and you love the drawbridge coming down, and you have the trapdoor and the elevator. But actually, this Fright Zone playset, I think you got more interactive with you, literally hands on, being that dragon that attacks, and then shoving people in the cell and using the buttons to catch the person as you're the tree. it's so simplistic looking. I know it's not vast, but you know what? There's some really fun replay value for that, especially for kids.
I mean, no, and that's why I feel like people really are. I think they're getting the idea of Castle Grayskull because of the importance of the playset and the concept of Grayskull. It's high on a mountaintop, and that's why I feel like people are not stopping to look at the simplicity of Grayskull and definitely Snake Mountain. Snake Mountain has even less to really kind of play around with. You've got the microphone, the talking mountain, and the trap door, and that's really about it. There and the
Yeah,
snake moving around. But to
that,
me,
that
it's just a little bit bigger. Where in the Fright Zone, it's just more compact, but it has everything that Grayskull and Snake Mountain have as well. The Eternia playset, only one tower has got stuff that you can do, and that's about it. I mean, it's
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's cool features, but as for the interaction of you doing stuff, it's more Eternia obviously is doing the thing with the monorail
yeah,
itself. Once it gets going, it will hit the trap that makes the gate go down on Grayskull Tower. But then otherwise, for Viper Tower, you go to turn the head. That's not exciting. But the back of Central Tower was cool because you had the elevator you can wind to go up, and you could use the claws to grab for Central Tower. And also, the mouth. You could have the mouth like open
yeah.
or close. But as for Snake Mountain, the only thing I loved on that was using that damn microphone. Cool as gimmick. I love the microphone, but it's a pretty display on the outside. You making people go across the bridge, but I think more people should give the Fright Zone a chance, and that's why I wish that this book, which is a good story we'll be talking about here in a second, I wish it would have came with the Fright Zone because maybe people could have appreciated it a little more because it's a great playset.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that two pack of because it's got some beautiful William George artwork for the Horde Grizzlord 2-pack. But yeah, I agree. I think it would have been very beneficial, much like with the Slime Pit got its own mini comic. This storybook, I think, should have also been put with the Fright Zone. Like I like the idea of selling figures with it, but also selling it with the Fright Zone, I think would have been a really good idea as well because you're selling this brand new concept, this new faction of characters, and their hideout, their headquarters. So that I feel like it made sense to sell it with the figures, but definitely with the playset. So I'm 150% with you on that one because
Oh yeah,
the paint the pictures really take so much time and detail to really push what the playset carries from the rock trap, the beast monster, and the tree, and the jail cell.
and
And
picture this. First, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I want to say
no,
one
no, no,
quick
you're
thing.
fine, bud.
All right. Well, first I was going to say Eternia, it came with the Ultimate Battleground, so they got their mini comic, but this isn't a mini comic, it's a bigger book. But this book that did come in the 2-pack, picture what would have happened. If you would have had this with the Fright Zone, and as you're opening up and listening, and after so many times of listening to it along with reading, tell me you wouldn't have recreated with your figures what you've seen in that book. You knew you would have
Oh
did the
yeah,
exact.
I definitely would. I mean, I used the cartoon as a template for some of my battles too. So if I had this, uh, yeah, you can definitely guarantee I would have used this as the as like a template to reenact the same battle multiple times or tweak it up just a little bit. Because everyone that was in this book I owned except Web Store. I didn't have Web Store was the only one in Orco and Prince Adam, but
Yeah,
everybody
same.
else I had. So
Yeah.
I could have reenacted this battle easily.
And the kids would have. Also, Jason Johnston, thank you for joining us in the chat room. And got to go to our buddy Grimbot. He always loves dropping some knowledge. He said, "Fun fact." He said, Power of the Evil Horde" is narrated by Robert Ridgely, Filmation's Flash Gordon. And he said, "And this was the very first time George DiCenzo voiced Hordak." I did not know that. How cool is
Th-
that?
that's something that I don't know if it's the okay. I'm gonna get because I yeah. You know what? For a second there, that sounded familiar, but not enough to where I can claim that. Yeah, I knew that for sure. So thank you, Grandbot, for clarifying that. Which clearly makes sense that this was the first time that George would give us his infamous Hordak snarl.
Yes,
And
you got that. Yep, and you did get that snarl. But you again from this story, it's quite different how it starts off. And I will pass it to you because I like how they get to Etheria, the whole thing behind it. But
yeah,
this,
and I like the use of the plant, which has been used in other canons or other stories, so to speak, of a way to get to Etheria is by using particular plant life, which one of my favorites is the man-eating plant that was in
Right.
Tila's
Right.
secret. But I like this tree that He-Man has to find this, get this leaf and rub it, and then it opens up this portal to, a direct portal to Etheria right there on the spot using this particular tree and extracting a leaf off of it. And at the beginning too, it's I like right off the bat we're getting the setup of like this new villain is at odds with Skeletor. So you got this trifecta of guys going to be fighting each other, not just two bad guys taking on He-Man to team up. They're like, no, they're all after each other. Like I like that there's. It was always fun the idea of thinking that Skeletor and Hordak would team up temporarily, but knowing that it's only going to last. That's what it is. It's just temporary because I don't want to see a an alliance with these guys for very long because it's more fun to watch these two factions go at it.
And also, I wondered how some of the scenes played out when it comes to looking at stuff at the beginning and then what you're hearing. Because, as you know, many times in a story, when it's a storybook, meaning one picture and then tons of dialogue. It's not like set up comic book style with tons of panels. We
Yes.
know that sometimes they'll show one panel, and then of course you hear within all the description. Eventually, it gets to what you see. But I felt like something was different how when they were showing Prince Adam, Orko, and Man at Arms, they're all standing outside of Castle Grayskull as Hordak's arriving, but they describe it as if they're in
They're
Castle
inside the
Grayskull.
castle.
Yeah, in that Adam says, I have to do something, Man at Arms, and he has to run away to turn into He Man. I was like, they almost made it seem like Man at Arms didn't know his secret. That
I think
different.
that's how it was written because in rereading, I'm like, it clearly sounds like the guy who wrote it is not aware of Orko and Man at Arms being aware of the secret identity. He just knows that He Man is really Prince Adam. He has to keep it a secret. So I could see that slipping by for someone who's just been giving this as a job to write this kid's story, but doesn't know all the rules and the trivia about the series. But I mean, for the most part, he gets everything right. It's just that one little bit there too that makes you kind of feel like this guy probably didn't know
Yeah,
all
so I
the ins
would.
and outs.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering. I was like wondering what was that obviously they're telling Bruce Timm draw this scene, that scene, and then you wonder did they work around the images and just change up some things once in a while when it came to the actual story because it just something felt it's cool. Don't get me wrong, I love the story, but there was something different. But I also love seeing that how Hordak captures Skeletor in like a magical cage or something,
Yeah.
and then he also because he's bringing the Horde with him. You got Leech, you got Grizzlord, you got Mantenna, and then Hordak snatches Orko, and that's when he goes into a dimension. He just boom snaps his finger, whatever it is, and bam, he's in Etheria. And now He-Man's wondering how to get there. How do I get to Etheria? He knows nothing of this or the Fright Zone. And the sorceress appears and lets him know about in the Vine Jungle this one special tree that you were talking about. To where if you grab the silver leaf and you rub it, it opens up a portal for him to go to Etheria and then go to the Fright Zone. And I like seeing him go there. And when you were talking about Mantenna and Hordak and how Mantenna's looking and sees He-Man coming, He-Man's going to try to get the upper hand and he jumps on top of the Fright Zone, gets caught by the tree, which sure was making a lot of references of wanting to slash and kill. I was like, hey, I thought you liked trees. What about,
Now
Sky
the tree
Tree?
is
What's
trying
going on?
to clearly. I think He-Man would not argue that this tree is one that needs to be cut down. This is not Sky Tree we're talking about here.
And he's like, forget the life this time. You're going to try to hold me. I'm going to cut you. But he just, burst, with his strength and busted off all the vines or the hands or whatever.
It all just looks so much fun. I mean, I just seeing. I love the attention to detail of putting Hordak's face above the jail cell, just like on the toy on the playset as well. And you bring in life to the rock trap. Like it's not just a trap; it's an actual creature made
I
of
like
rock
that. I did like
residing in
that.
the ground. And I like that addition to it. Like it doesn't make me dislike the Fright Zone. Oh, why didn't we get that? I think it's a wonderful addition, though. That if it would be fun to see that in other stories. Axel, illustrate that, will you? You know, that's Axel or Kevin Sharp, one of those guys. Illustrate this. Let's bring this to life here a little bit more.
Because I like seeing that's what I meant. It just would expand it on you playing with the set, enjoying more. I mean, even the beast monster, puppet monster, whatever you want to call it, you hear him referring to it as a dragon that can breathe fire. So it's like, okay, well, this is breathing fire like other dragons. It looks quite different, of course, but I love this thing, and I think that's what shocked me the most was beyond seeing the images, when I heard that on YouTube, which all you guys can find it on YouTube when you look up Power of the Evil Horde, you could finally see and hear it. And I was like, I loved hearing the filmation voices. It just made it feel more like a cartoon to me.
And I have yet to hear the audio of this, and I don't know why I
Oh, yeah.
didn't think to look for it on YouTube. I'd always just go to He-Man.org to look up the scans of this, and I had heard about the audio, but it just didn't occur to me because I forget that a lot of these audio books that we talk about, the audio has been put on YouTube. I mean, hell, the Golden Book VHS tapes are on there. Everything else has got to be on there too. I mean, all those UK books that we've done, the Ladybird books, like the audios. Is it? Were those
Yeah, all
audio
those.
books, or they just have someone just read or just
No,
narrate
they
those?
were. Oh, they had no. I mean, I think they sold them as just like with a lot of Golden. Some you could get the books itself or the book with the cassette. And the cassette, yes, it obviously read out everything you've seen, and it
No,
takes
no, I
a
meant the
good.
Ladybird books. The Ladybird books.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Ladybird books. Yeah, the Ladybird books. Those ones I believe came with cassettes. So I think if you looked all of those up on YouTube, you should be able to see the Ladybird stories along with hearing the audio. Which
But no,
those are.
but what I'm saying is that the Ladybird books were they all audio books? Is what I'm asking.
Oh, don't know if they all were. I thought the major. I think so. I think
Okay, because I know we've done two of them, and we listened to audio for both of them. So I'm just under the impression that most of those books.
all of them except I thought they had a bigger Ladybird one. It's the only one I don't have. There's like a bigger oversized, not the small one, but I believe every one of those small Ladybird books are audiobooks. They also have audio form. I believe. Don't quote me because I hate to do it and somebody
Well, no,
corrects me in the
no,
chat room
because
and be
I
like,
know
nope.
we've done two of those books, and both of them had audio, like a narrator who just did a terrible job. But
That was there. I actually thought, like I said, when I first heard it, I was like, "Is this just somebody reading the book for us to on YouTube?" I didn't know, but I was like, "No." Then somebody told me, "No, Joe, that is the guy's voice that did the all audio for them all." I was like, "Oh, okay," because it was pretty
he
painful.
wasn't even trying, man. Like I know you're doing it for a paycheck, but you know, it's like bring
He
in
was doing
Charlton Heston if you can, something.
I just liked how his different voices, like if he do Skeletor, he'd go like, "I'm Skeletor," and then if it was a merman, like I'm merman. It's like you're changing your octave by a crumb. There's not any different, like accents or crazy deepness. It was all his things in these slight up and down and voices. Like, wow, that you sound completely different.
It's just the guy. Yeah, I mean, the guy's probably recording on the toilet or something like that. Just not really.
Something.
I mean, that's probably where he's getting the grunts from. Is trying to pass that memorable stool.
It's something else. And also, Delvis78 and Toki Deathhammer, thank you for joining us in the chat room as well.
Awesome, man. Loving the turnout here. We've had such a good turnout here tonight.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody here is great. I mean they were giving some of their experiences of things they played with, and some other questions like Toki Deathhammer had one question. He said, "How tough are the Super Seven figures?" He said, "My son is wanting a He-Man to play with." He said, "As seen on TV, pre-order are the cheapest ones he's found." Um, well, as for classics figures, I mean they're still pretty damn durable. I think kids can
Yeah.
play with those without breaking them, and I'm not playing with my four Curse of the Three Terror figures in back of me because these are the glow in dark ones, and I don't like playing with those. But I'm assuming the plastic quality should be good enough for kids to play without them smashing to pieces. At
Well, I
least
mean,
that's
with anything else, I mean, if you have kids that are destructive with the toys, yeah, anything's going to break. But as opposed to like punching and wrestling with them, I mean, yeah, I think they're pretty durable. I mean, as long as I can be throwing them against walls and hey, I'm going to have He-Man push a brick on Skeletor and actually take a brick and take your He-Man figure and shove the brick, fall 2 feet over and fall on Skeletor. That probably wouldn't be the best thing to do,
yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
I
That's one
still
thing I
think
never.
from a child's play perspective, based on how I play with my toys, which I always took great pride in taking care of them, but I would still punch and kick.
Oh yeah,
But
you'd like them both
yeah,
bang bang.
I think yes, yeah, a He-Man and Skeletor from classics, yeah, would be more than fine for your child to play with and reenact battles. Absolutely.
Yeah, I wouldn't see them breaking at all. I
Nah,
mean, yeah, they're durable. Like I said, unless they're being slammed onto
they're
the
not
ground.
LGN wrestler durable. They're not that durable, but they're pretty durable.
Right? But no, so if you guys have not seen or heard The Power of the Evil Horde, like I said, after we're done, and anytime you want, you check out YouTube and you can catch that. And it's a story that it's something that you would have really wished you had as a kid. I can't say it enough. I wish I had this when I was a kid. I wish it was with the Fright Zone, and because I'll never be able to own that book or that playset because you see the price of those damn 2-packs. Whew, that ain't my kind of money. I don't have that
It's
kind.
hard to find those on eBay to buy, let alone being able to afford them. Because for fun, I've gone on and looked for the 2-packs, just to see if you can find them, just to see. Yeah, I know I can't afford it. I have better chance of trying to win the lottery than to come up with the financial means to purchase some of that stuff. But it's hard just to find the 2-packs available
Yeah,
to buy. It really is. And I'm glad just to see scans of the Mossman, Mechanic, Buzz Off 3-pack, and then there's like a web store Stinkor and Whiplash
God, what
3-pack.
the hell? Aren't those like 10 to 20,000? It's something insane. Literally, it's 10 to
Yeah,
20,000.
the
Like,
Jitsu Night Stalker 2-pack. God Almighty, man! That will be something. I have a better chance of getting a complete Eternia playset than I do getting that Jitsu Night Stalker 2-pack with that beautiful artwork on there. I'll never ever see it again,
yeah,
much less own it. You
that's
know.
a lot of money. But as for this Power Evil Horde, also, if you just get the Dark Horse mini comic collection book, it's in there so you can actually see it and read it in there. So you can physically read it then anytime you want. Just go, yeah, get that mini comic collection book from Dark Horse. You can get that sucker and then you can see it anytime you want.
Yeah, it's just in this book here. If you have not purchased it yet, we've got that. All your mini comics here. This is where we do most of our mini comic reviews too. So that way, if you go back to our back catalog of episodes through Podbean or YouTube, iTunes, or whatever, Joe likes to use the vintage stuff, but most of my vintage stuff is boxed up because I got enough stuff in this room as it is without making it cluttered and things like that. So I have to go to this when we do our mini comic reviews and things like that. And same thing with our Horde storybook. So it is convenient if you just want to have a quick reference to something you want to do some reading and keep your vintage stuff packed up. I understand if you want to keep the vintage stuff out because that's the classic way of reading it, but this just prevents any kind of coffee stains or tears or accidents by just using this hardcover book. Plus, you get this nice, beautiful little red ribbon in here,
Yeah, plus, no, I don't want to go through my mini comics, my originals no more and keep wearing them out. So if I, like you said, use the mini comic collection book, at least I'm saving the wear and tear on my vintage ones because especially some that I, cherish, like the Ultimate Battleground. It's like, I don't want to wrinkle that anymore. I'm sitting there barely putting fingerprints on it, trying to treat it like it's fine china as I'm moving it just to read. So I could do the big ass Dark Horse book. Works for you that way.
It is. It's the one that my copy that was given to me. Thank you kindly.
Was that
You know,
Eric
I,
Game? No,
yes, that
Eric.
was that. Yeah, Eric Amon gave me that, and I'm keeping it sealed up. Like I've taken it out. It was so pristine. It really was, and I just feel like I have to keep it like that. I just there's no way. You know, it was fun to flip through it, but it's such a dear commodity to me that he gave me that. Um,
Yes.
and I want to keep it as pristine as possible because it's something that I'd pretty much just given up on that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I'm
want to
not
touch
gonna
it. I
no
wouldn't want.
no, and it was just nice to be able to pull it out and just God, it's so thin because it's so case fresh.
Yep,
I
that
had
was
to have
awesome
that
of
thing
Eric.
graded.
Yeah, that was awesome of Eric to do. It's a
That
rare
really
thing.
was, and Eric, again, I want to thank you for that when you listen to this, because it was just so nice of you to do that. It really was. I can't thank you enough for that.
It just shows
Um,
the community again, as we always say. People will do show such acts of kindness that you would never expect, and they don't even have to do, but they do that. It's like, damn, people are just they're really cool when they show when they do stuff like that. It's not expected.
it's just it's. I'm eternally grateful for. Not just the fans who show up each week and listen to us, or in their spare time, but the fans that have felt out of the kindness of their heart to send Joe and I items. Everybody, from various parts of the world. It's just been really cool. Even if they just wanted us to review it on the podcast, still, it's you wanted us to have these items so we can praise the hell out of it because that's all we're going to do.
And
you
Eric
know.
said you're welcome. He's in the chat room. He said you're
Oh,
welcome.
okay, cool. I wasn't sure for a fact if Eric was in there. So yes, Eric, thank you so much, buddy. Um, but it's a testament to how kind everybody is because God, we appreciate everything that you guys do. Taking time to listen to us, I'm eternally grateful for that. I wish I could actually take time with everybody that
No,
takes that listens to us on the commute home, at work, at the gym, or at home, whatever the case may be, I would love to thank them personally for taking time to, you know what, they wanted to give Joe and Tyler some time and watch their YouTube video or download the podcast and listen to it. It means a lot that, and we say this a lot because we want to constantly emphasize that it's important that we let everyone know we appreciate that you take the time each week to, you know what, I'll give an hour and a half of my time to listen to these guys talk about why vintage is so much better than the current stuff, or why Filmation is better than 2000X, or why King Grayskull sucks, or
King
you
Grayskull.
know,
Well, you know
yeah.
what?
Well,
Let's
hey,
transition. I was gonna say, since we're talking about King Grayskull, we're gonna talk about the character that we always wanted to see in MYP, and a character that we wanted to see back in the day, and I know I did, and that's Hero. And there's different versions, as we know. My hero is always going to be Hero from the Powers of Grayskull mini comic, that figure that we didn't get, the most powerful wizard in the universe. That's the hero I always wanted. And we've seen other ones and things that were planned, and dear God, God love James Etoch and for joining us, giving us the biggest
boy,
laugh.
wasn't that the biggest letdown when you find out what the hell was in that book?
Because
God, man.
and he lost his shit, and when he did, I lost it. You lost it because again, it was so kind of him to show us that. But when he was just the way he was describing some of the characters, you could tell he was even just losing it. It's like, wow, I am very glad we did not get that hero. But
Oh
Tyler, go
man,
ahead. Your thoughts on some hero? Go into it.
I mean, you know, I mean, it turns out too, you know, that the hero, most powerful wizard in the universe, and the son of He-Man, Hero, that it was just coincidence, you know, because I had often wondered for years, you know, did Filmation, you know, take it as a nod, you know, like, hey, we're not going to do that, but we like the name and we'll carry on with He-Man's son. But it was just a complete coincidence, and it was the Hero cartoon, the one with Dare, not the skeleton with the head live action footage, which I was not aware of because I used to wonder why the hell. And some of the mini comics that Axel had drawn, where Hero has got, you know, long brown hair and wearing the New Adventures vest. I just thought this does not look anything like the Dare Hero Son of He-Man cartoon series that Lou Scheimer was pushing for, along with Skeleton, which the design looked cool, but man, with a name like that, I can't take any villain seriously with a name like Skeleton. So that's why I dismissed that, you know, completely, regardless of what was planned. I mean, some stuff I'm like, I'll embrace it because if we were supposed to get it, I'm like, you know what, I can appreciate that and embrace most of it. But that was something that I went looking around for, and of course, Penny Dreadful and Deucin provided the links for that stuff. I'm like, God, that just sounded awful. But the Son of He-Man cartoon, that Bible and everything, I've always found intriguing since the early days of the internet when I came across that on the old days of He-Man.org, and looking at the pictures of what Hero was going to look like, what Skeletor's new was going to look like with Trapjaw and Merman, Evelyn, and then the new cast of villains, the new heroes like Airbag, and my personal favorite, Forklift. I just thought that was great, and then I just never cared for the concept that Dare is like an adopted Jungle Boy, kind of like Mowgli or something like that. I've always wanted, you know, the son of He-Man to be born of Tila and Adam, excuse me, and that at some point when he reaches the right age, he is introduced to this responsibility that He-Man / Adam had for so long, and is, you know, trained and so on and so forth. And I like to think that, you know, you could still connect that hero and the most powerful wizard because you know, as we all know, that He-Man's power, if you people embrace only vintage, which I do that in terms of, you know, canon, is that Hero is responsible for the power in the Power Sword. That Castle Grayskull was built for Gray / Hero. You know, that had we gotten the powers of Grayskull along, we probably would have seen the creation of Castle Grayskull as probably a fortress for Ro, or you know, a dwelling for him. It's hard to say what we would. I mean, I'm sure we would have seen more of the three towers
God,
and things like that. But it just makes what I really wanted to ask from you is what do you think what could we have gotten outside that first mini comic just based
Jesus.
on the images we've got and everything. What
Oh,
what do you think we could have got?
I mean, I think we would have got, obviously, what I wanted was to have the part two and part three of that series of the Powers of Grayskull that we were supposed to have gotten back then, which we didn't. I remember just waiting, anticipating, then seeing the catalog where we seen Titus, Megator, Giganosaur, we seen Hero and Elder, all that stuff back in the day. Like I said, Elder Bearbin when I seen it. I wanted to see it expand and see more about Eldor, like how Hero could have got chosen. Like, would we have seen that in issue 2 of the mini comic or 3, or would that have been something after they started off the 3-part miniseries where He-Man went back to help and maybe helped again, and after they got everything all done with the 3-part miniseries, then we would have got more stories, original stories. But I think we would have definitely had more of Eldor because I feel
Yeah.
like Eldor, yeah, Eldor's the one that's been lost in all these retakes, or not retakes, all these other tellings of Hero in these other versions. Are they ever even mentioning Eldor? Or is he only mentioned for the original Powers of Grayskull, line? I think that's the only time we really seen him discussed, correct? Or was he mentioned in, the other Hero stories? I don't know.
No, I mean, just it's just one of those things that we just know that we were supposed to get him. He was going to be an integral part of the story, and that's it. I'd like to think that in issue 2, it would have been the sorceress talking to He-Man about who Hero really is, and that you open up with them at the Three Towers, and she's talking to him after the events of the first issue, and then you're seeing this whole flashback. Like the rest of the mini comic is finding out who Hero is, that he's gray, and that he was chosen to become Hero, and
I
is
want
the
to see that. Yeah,
yeah.
that
That
is.
that that
That,
that's what I felt like we would have gotten. And then the third issue probably would have gotten He-Man to team up with Hero to connect the kids, the audience, that we're telling you that this is a new character that we want you to go forth and buy the toys. And here's the seal of approval with He-Man teaming up and doing battle with the dinosaurs. You're seeing Gigantosaur in action
and Titus
and
and
put
Megator, that would have been
Titus and
awesome in that.
Megator.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would have shown up in the second issue as well, like seeing
Without,
Hero team up
yeah,
with Titus and the Megator with the Snake Man. I mean, yeah, it's
and I'm
it's
sure we wouldn't have seen Megator perish in the jaws of Central Tower. I'm sure that wouldn't have happened.
no, we wouldn't have seen Titus die at the hands of Megator or Hero die due to a
Damn,
technovirus and all that
would it would
stuff.
not have been cool? How cool could it have been just to have so many different stories and with them, just like you, just as we've seen with Masters of the Universe, Princess of Power, and New Adventures, all the different stories with those characters, and how many times we could have seen the giants, Titus and Megator, Giganosaur, and but just to know, I would love to see the origin of what made Eldor, if he was the one to do it, choose Gray to become Hero. Like, what happened to make that event unfold. Just as how we seen in the original Masters of the Universe mini comic with He-Man leaving the tribe, and then he saves the goddess, and then she bestows upon him the weapons. I wonder what they would have did to show what made Gray special. Why was he the one chosen?
I'd almost picture like in the first issue, like where you see the Snake Man come in and just destroy this village just for fun, just plunder the whole thing, and that's what Gray probably would have been a victim of as a young man. That I think in this time I'd like to keep the Horde out of this. Like I want to keep the Horde something that's more for the current vintage canon, and let the Snake Men be the dominant faction in the pre not to say that they would be the only villains. I'm all for creating new villains for the pre-Eternia storyline, but I like to think that King Hiss is the more dominant villain. He's the one constantly destroying villages, like the Jun Horde and the Beastmaster. Like they're the ones calling the shot. They're the ones going all over the place, destroying this, destroying that, feeding villagers to the giant snakes and things like that. And that Gray would have been a survivor of one of those and befriends Eldor. And Eldor, is like, I can't go on carrying on my battles as a great sword. You have youth, you have strength, you have determination, but I can tell you have a good heart, that you're not out for blood, but you want to right the wrongs. You want to stop these people from doing what they've done to you and keeping it from doing to others. And therefore, I'm going to train you. I'm going to teach you, the ways of wizardry and good magic that's more powerful than anything else you could ever imagine. And that magic being so great that when eventually Hero does pass away, in my mind, natural causes, not some sort of ridiculous logic or reason, but when his time passes, his power is harnessed and stored in the halls of Castle Grayskull and is just forgotten until we have the. Which I'm sure, you know what? That probably would have given us the origin of the sorceress character in general. Not Tila Na, but the idea that the guardian of Castle Grayskull had to start somewhere.
Sure,
That
sure.
someone has to decide we have to guard the power of the greatest wizard we had ever known. That would have given us a reason to like, okay, who is the very first sorceress? This is a mantle that's been passed down from generation to generation, obviously, or a new strong woman comes along every so often to take on those duties. Probably would have given us an opportunity to say who was the very first sorceress.
And you know what? What if just that day happens? We say it all the time. I mean, as James likes to show us every time he finds a new damn treasure. But what if somewhere the script or something layout of at least what was planned for part 2 and part 3 of that mini comic? What if it just popped up someday? Even though people have said I don't remember ever writing it
Well,
or people writing
I
it.
swear, I remember Scott Nylick when he was running Matty Collector said that he saw the scripts for the second and third issue, which made me think that's what we were getting. Obviously, that's not what we got. So that's what I've often wondered was that, or did I just hear the guy wrong? Because I remember I blew a gasket. Like I was so pumped when he said, I've seen the scripts and we're going to finish the Powers of Grayskull storyline, which I'm like, no, this can't be it because, they're not going to kill off Hero and
No,
all these
that would
characters that were featured in that little trilogy of
would have
stories,
never
feature
been in
characters.
there.
It was just like, maybe I misunderstood what was said
Yeah,
back then, but
I honestly don't remember either. And the other thing I definitely know is you can guarantee though it was probably never drawn out because I would bet you $1,000,000 Larry Houston would have
yeah,
drawn out issue 2 and 3, and he says he's never drawn anything for those. So that's why you can guarantee it probably was not drawn out at all because I know they would have stuck with Larry Houston.
yeah, and it just kind of makes you wonder, how far along a lot of this stuff got, because obviously they weren't going to push the Powers of Grayskull issue 2 mini comic until the Hero figures came out. Like that's when I'd like to think that first issue wraps up 87, and then when 88 comes along, that's when we would get issues 2 and 3 that probably would have came with Hero and Eldor in the second issue, and the third issue probably would have came with you know I've often wondered with this new batch of characters, would Hotshot slash Plasmar been a hero character? Would Terror been a hero character? Because that's when we saw those. I initially thought because we're supposed to get the Powers of Grayskull line 88 along with these guys. I think as I'm thinking about it though, that Terror, Plasmar, Lord Grass, they would have been figures part of the vintage He-Man line and not the Powers of Grayskull line. So I just kind of makes you wonder, like, who would have come down the line to fill out the third issue? Well, we've got more Snake Men. Would we have gotten brand new villains altogether that are evil wizards, evil warlords, and stuff like that?
God.
It's just that, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about, at least with that hero, because of the possibilities of what we could have gotten.
It's the
And
only hero
that's
I've ever really known and wanted. As I came on the internet later and found out all the Bibles of the other stuff, it didn't pique my interest. I was so damn pumped of what I was hoping I'd get as a kid that these other interpretations of hero or other things they had planned, it just was of zero interest to me. And it still is. I mean, there's nothing wrong with people love it. That's great. But I always just wanted my Powers of Grayskull hero that I was expecting as a kid, and those stories that I'm sure we would have got that would have stayed true to that first mini comic of part 1 of the Powers of Grayskull. I know that's what it was stuck with these crazy, dinosaurs that had these abilities to do stuff with the giants. It just, God, how many other giant things could there have been? Knowing that that's where I think they came from was, I can't remember how they referred to it on the back of the Titus and Megator box, but I believe that the US version, which somebody sold on eBay maybe, I don't know how many years ago, but it gave reference to the land of God, I can't remember.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say too, and just because they make reference to it in the Powers of Grayskull. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, where He-Man looks back in this one direction. The sorcerer says that's the land of the giants.
But yeah, but they had
So
a specific name for it on the back of the
yeah,
English
I know there's a specific name on the Megator Titus, but I know what you're talking about. it's like Giganita or something like that.
Yeah, there was a specific thing, and I remember it was, I thought, said only on the English box and not on the European, because I think the European, I believe you could still read that in English, but there was a reference not on there. And I hope I'm not sounding like a moron. Also, I want to say one thing. It's kind of cool what happens during a podcast. Jason Bean in the chat room just said, okay, just ordered a set of the vintage line. He says, now thinking about getting a second set that I'll have to keep boxed. Might have to do it, man, because you got to keep that cool Aaron McCarthy art. So have the ones to
yeah.
open and play with, and yeah, have the ones that'll be sealed too.
I love that way, doing the podcast that they just said, you know what, this is the time to buy those figures. That's what a fantastic financial decision you made there, bud.
It's a
That's
live.
awesome.
It's caught live on Fans of Power, but that would be cool as hell. More people could do that. Yeah, they're definitely worth getting if you can. Also, one quick other thing I wanted to say: this mask is not coming off tonight for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason. On Facebook, they always like saying what happened a year ago on this day, and it came live about me getting rid of the mask and revealing myself and taking the mask off. That was last year's episode on this day or something. So it just went in the it went exploded on Facebook. People are commenting. So no, this is not coming off. Just had to say that.
Sorry to disappoint their people. I haven't even seen him without his mask. So, because when we talk in private, it's usually it's over Hangouts, but we don't use camera. And then when we use cameras before or sometimes after, the mask still stays on. Like Joe stays in character. He doesn't break kayfabe, not even for behind the scenes reasons. Like it's not like we talk in Carney or anything like that. Before the show and stuff like that to keep all the secrets of a motto and from parts unknown. Like I don't even know what he looks like underneath. Just that one time, and he was wearing sunglasses. So it's a vague memory of what Joe looked like wearing a Meteors t-shirt. So
There you go. Yes, I'll keep it on. But yeah, but go ahead.
I guess so. You're telling me you've never been really sold on the Son of He-Man concept?
No,
Is that what you're
not me.
saying?
I just no, just I've never liked it. It's never thrilled me at all. Some people love it, but for me, no. I've always wanted the hero that I thought I was gonna get when I was a kid. So maybe that's me being a little selfish and greedy
No.
and
I
not.
get it. Because I didn't learn about it until I was a young adult too, and I just found it to be. I was really fascinated by the character designs of what was done in the Bible, and just don't care for the whole adoption thing because I want to emphasize the marriage of Adam and Tila, and then keep pushing the idea that those two cannot be together because they're going to go separate paths because of her duty to Grayskull, Adam's duty to the royal palace. They're not going to be a happy family. I think it's a very interesting storyline, and the fact that and I mentioned it before, and this is just my own personal thought of you know, um, Adam is going to be aware that his son is going to grow up and go through the hell that he did. And from a father's perspective, you want to protect your boy. You don't want to so quickly put him out in harm's way and realize you're going to go through hell and back and be in super stressing times of maintaining an identity and saving the palace and trying to keep up a persona in front of others and not get a whole lot in return because no one is supposed to know who you really are. Whereas your mother is spending all his time knowing that my son is going to be going into combat at age 18, taking on the responsibilities of saving this entire planet. And I'm stuck here in this castle and I can't do anything about it until he walks in here at age 18 where I can embrace my son, you know, because you almost feel like this is something. That's why I feel like this is such an interesting storyline, just based on these thoughts and ideas that are already laid down in kind of vintage canon. That she's watching her son grow up from a distance and can never embrace him because it's supposed to be kept in secret. You're not supposed to know that your mother is the sorceress of Grayskull. A child, I mean, you can't expect a child to kind of keep that kind of secret. So all this stuff, watching your son grow up and you can't embrace him. You can't help him. You can't pick him up after he scraped his knee. You're going to have to watch him as Zoar the Falcon and never be able to come to him and help him out in his times of crisis or need as a child growing up. Adam's going to have to do it all. But knowing that, it's just there's so much great
The damn
storytelling to be told
yeah,
there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the damn curse of that family, because you gotta think about that. The sorceress, she couldn't, raise Tila, and now
Yeah,
Tila's gonna have to do the same thing with
and
her
that
child.
makes Tila, it really humbles Tila, because I'm sure once the time has come that Adam and Tila will probably marry in secret for their own benefit, have a
They go,
child, but then
they elope.
separate.
It's their version of
Yeah,
eloping,
they
huh?
elope, but it's one of those things where you feel like it's going to really make Tila's mindset on life change, because not only will she be given this responsibility regarding Grayskull, but knowing that what she had been doing to Adam all those years, now she's going to be watching a child that she cannot help is going to be taking on the same responsibilities that her husband, who she berated and belittled for years and years and years, she's going to have to watch from afar as others will be doing the same thing to her son. God, that's good storytelling. That I feel like, given the opportunity, that could win over people like you and enjoy a story really pushing the Adam Tila stuff and building up Dare as a young boy and taking on and what's going to make him decide, what, I can't run from this responsibility and destiny. I will take up the mantle as hero and carry on my father's legacy. Like, good storytelling, I think it could win over the masses with that, and bringing in all the original villains plus new ones and stuff like that. Oh
Yeah,
God, it would be a thing of beauty.
and it would have been great. Of course, the one thing that never happened and probably never will, and the stuff that I wanted from the mini comics with Hero, they'll never happen.
I still want that. I still like to think that, what, Super Seven ought to get Larry back, or Axel, or someone of that caliber, and to finish up 2 and 3 the way we're supposed to get, not what we were given, where it's just about
Oh, if
pushing
Larry
King
came
Grayskull
back,
into 2000X characters.
if Larry came back and drew issue 2 and 3, I'd lose it.
That's the way
I
it should
would
be.
lose.
Larry needs to come back and finish that trilogy, and
God.
then he needs to come back and do the Return of Geldor.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, busting out of the tree of life or whatever. Oh
Yes,
man.
God, man, I mean, just the mini comic art of that alone, of him stepping out of the tree, smiling devilishly with his battle axe.
Says it
Oh
all.
man,
It does.
it's
It
enough
says
to
it
make your
all.
nipples hard.
There it is. They're getting there. That, in case you ever wonder, that's why I wear the scarf. It's to cover up the nipples right there, because they usually poke out, and especially when I'm getting excited. So scarf covers them up.
The scarf covers up because Joe doesn't always have, he's not always kept cool all the time. So that's why he's got, but that's the thing about this podcast, is that even in the hottest of temperatures, the uncomfortable accommodations and environment, Joe can still get hard nipples at some of the content we talk about on the show. That's the power of He-Man. That's the power of Grayskull.
That's
That's
right.
fans of power.
That's right. That's high beings, like Eric Amon said. But well, before we wrap it up, like I said, if you guys had any questions you want to ask us, just shoot us right here in the chat room, and we'll answer anything you want to ask. And that's from the toys, cartoon, mini comics, whatever. And I'll get to one quick one right now from Eric Amon, and I honestly don't know this answer. He said, hold on, scrolling down, if the 2 packs had any of that Errol McCarthy art, I'm not sure if
I don't
the
think so.
two.
I think they would have really pushed that, because the originals, I don't think they had card art. I
Yeah,
mean, they had the box art on the front, but not like Errol McCarthy's card art that we're
right.
accustomed. So yeah, I don't think fans who missed out on that are going to miss out on some exclusive McCarthy art. So I think in that regard
No.
you're safe.
Yeah, you should be safe. I'm assuming they're just going to do it like they did, where they showed the 8 backs, or just had the figures, or whatever they're going to be trying to
Like on
sell.
the back of like the Night Stalker Stridor packs, where you've just got cross sell artwork of the
Yeah.
play sets, the figures, and the vehicles available. It probably
Yes.
something along those lines is on the back.
Yeah, because that is usually what they did back then. So yeah, they wouldn't have that exclusive. Yeah, definitely, they wouldn't have no exclusive art. Now, of course, I will take it back for one thing. The Grizzlor Hordak one we were speaking of, on the back of theirs, it actually did have a piece of art on the top part in the
Yes, it
back.
did. Yes, it
But
did.
but
Yeah.
but I don't think arrows will be appearing on this. That's at least just I guess for me and Tyler. But okay, Adam Gabbert said, Joe and Tyler, he says, I'm only speaking for the vintage figures. My question is, what are your thoughts with the newer ones being giant? Wait, what are the thoughts of the newer ones being giant figures being made for the 21st century? Um, Adam, I hope I'm kind of understanding what you mean. I don't know if you meant, would you want all the vintage ones being giant, like the Matty collector ones, like the giant He-Man, Beastman, Skeletor. I don't know if that's what he's referring to, Tyler. If that is what you're saying, Adam, I think that was a cool option. Obviously, I wouldn't want 80 of them because where the hell are you going to display them all? But having some of the cool giant like He-Man, Skeletor, Beastman, that's kind of nice. I don't own any of them, but they're cool. I just don't own them.
Yeah, they look cool. It's just too expensive. I when you got classics coming out, like that's where my money goes. Is like I have to have the classic figures, and now this vintage stuff's out. I just it's cool. They look great. I like some of the novelty stuff they put out. Like there's like 3 3/4 figures with 5-point articulation. Those look great
Sure.
too. But it's strictly my money goes towards classics.
Yep.
That's the most important thing for me right now. That and this getting this new vintage stuff off the ground.
Okay, and
But
that is what he was asking. He was asking about the
okay,
12 inch. So yeah,
a 12-inch clamp champ would be badass. I
yeah.
love that. I would like to have. I probably would have to fork out the $80 for a 12-inch clamp champ.
I'm sure all those bastards would look cool in 12-inch form. Remember, imagine a big 12-inch mosquito with that blood pumping. But
A
I just
12-inch
couldn't have
cyclone. Oh man.
it. Actually, you fan yourself with them. You spin them, and he goes like that, and you're actually getting fanned by the giant
That
cyclone.
would be
But
awesome.
just no room. But thanks for that question, Adam. Zentron, I'm glad you asked this question because it's something. Okay, Zentron said, which animation sequence from Filmation's He-Man did you dislike the most? And he said, like, for example, creating a tornado with a Hulk smash double fist or something like that. I'll tell you what I didn't like. And it's not even really any animation much. I hated the times when they depicted this is gonna be hard for me to describe, and I hope Tyler can understand it. When He-Man's on Battle Cat and they showed this weird 3/4 angle, like really close up, and it always looked like He-Man was meshing into Battle Cat, and I hated how close they looked. I don't even know if you really understand what I mean, Tyler, but there's this particular angle of He-Man and Battle Cat drove me nuts every time they seen him on top of Battle Cat because it looked like he wasn't on his saddle. It looked like he's sitting literally on the back of his mask or something. Do you know what I mean when I'm saying this? I might have to show it.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I hate that fucking.
does that part didn't bother me. The one thing that always stuck out to me though is when the power sword was drawn off scale a little bit. Like I think in the episode Disappearing Act, because I used to watch this a lot because I had the tape as a kid, and the sequence where Man at Arms makes a new robot of He-Man, and they show the stock animation of He-Man like stopping and swinging the power sword to the right. Part of the it's either that one or maybe it's when your Cambro lookalike is using the power sword to carve a whittle with whittle sticks, but the power sword instead of going up and curving at an angle, it goes up, curves out, then back in again, and it looked ugly to me as a kid. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, they drawn the power sword. It looks ugly. Like the way the power sword looked in Formation, that was right here in the heart. Like that is what I want. I want the power sword. And when you draw it wrong like that, I call you out. I call you a fake, a phony, a scab. And
I'm glad you said that because I know you're going to know the episode and I don't. That's why I love shooting this at you when you talk about what are the things you can do that I can't. Here comes one of them. The one time I really hated that damn Filmation Power Sword is when He-Man used it to cut Tila out of a web. It looks so goofy. I'll find that shot. But what was the
like
one where
it's the Sleepers Awaken.
was that the one? Yeah, maybe that's where she's all webbed up like
Yeah.
like she's being chained up. Yeah, he cuts her off the web, but they zoomed in or showed a particular close up. The sword looked nothing like the power sword. It was just drawn horribly. I think that
stuff the power sword drawn poorly. That's what always sticks out to me the most. Everything else, I mean, obviously I can forgive all of it, but as a kid, that being drawn was like the ultimate sin for me as a kid. I mean, I didn't notice in Diamond Raiders appearance where Skeletor's nose has been colored in with yellow. I didn't notice the Sorceress's headpiece has been colored orange in Colossal Awakes.
Yeah, color errors. Usually those didn't bug me. I know that sometimes it was missing color hair or colors. And hell, one episode of the She-Ra cartoon, Swift, when you actually see him bald headed, there's no mane there, but then it appears quickly. But those little things, But yeah, when it's certain things and how they're drawn and angled, God. But
that's when I got a problem.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Zentron. And Eric Amon said, He said also, he said he knows there's a Hero 2 Classics figure. He says, what and where did that come from? So was that some of the whole son of.
Hero 2 is the son of He-Man based on that proposed series that was going to use live action, which is why um I mean, because the Hero 2 comes with the look with like the two different looks. One pretty much based on the Lou Scheimer Hero series, which is how I have it depicted back here. And then you've got the one that was going to be using the animated mix of live action version here, where he's got the New Adventures vest, which I just thought was so unoriginal, looked lazy, looked ugly, the long ponytail and everything. The design for the Lou Scheimer series was definitely far more superior. Of
Okay.
course, I had always pushed to have Axel's design of Hero done in figure form
Yeah, we
because
know
that
that one, don't we?
yes, you know that one. That was, no, I'm not biased or anything about that, but that design of Hero was. I'm
Damn
sorry,
Eagle
because
Maniac Tyler.
there's not going to be a version that's going to be more superior than Axel's design of Hero.
Yeah, yeah. Some days you guys maybe have seen it before, but Tyler will show you sometime. But all right.
Could not have dismissed me more sincerely there.
Fucking Eagle Maniac. No, just joking.
Oh
Okay.
no no
No.
no no no. He's right. I am.
All right. Delvis78 said, "What site do you and Tyler go to for fact checks on the Masters mythos?"
I go to Heman.org a lot for a lot of the products and things like that. Fact checking and stuff like that. I mean, because a lot of it, I've picked up over the years from just watching the episodes a lot and just kind of putting pieces together. But James E. Talk has been a big fountain of knowledge for me since I was in high school. Because of his early days of that the review website that he did with Zadok Angel. That was a big source, and just following his stuff a lot over the years and putting in learning about his facts. So pretty much I've gotten a lot of it from watching and just digging for stuff relentlessly and staying hungry for it, and then from the content of Heman.org and James E. Talk as well. So those would be my three sources. Myself, just because how rabid I was, and those two as well. So if you ever feel the need to check out animated stuff, plus you can always check with our buddy Grimbot if you have any questions. Our buddy Grimbot, who's in the chat room here, he's also become quite a high-ranking source of knowledge as well too. So if you can't get it from me, you can't get it from Heman.org or James, Grambach can probably point you in the right direction as well too. So those are
Yeah.
four sources of good. Three. I'm not throwing myself in there, even though Joe just called me egomaniac. I certainly don't. I'm not going to sit there and say I know everything. I know a lot, but I don't know everything.
That just would have been just the top, or you should have left it. Yep, there's four sources, and
You
I
know,
am one of them.
I
Right?
probably should have just took it and ran with it and just put on like some Ric Flair sunglasses, hold my title here, and just say,
Exactly.
just cut a promo that you know what, you don't go to them, you come to me if you
You're
want to know,
shining.
like who was in,
Right.
the villain in the episode, the Cold Zone, how many episodes Web Store's in, you go to me, and
There
Joe's
you
holding
go.
up
That
the
could have been
microphone
great.
like he's Mean Gene or he's
Just as long as you don't
Gordon
start drop,
Soley.
as long as you don't start dropping elbows on the chair you're sitting at or doing something insane, I think we're good to go.
If I had an Ultimate Warrior wrestling buddy, I probably would have to do that.
Oh my god! All right. Well, thank you for that, Delphus. JSP said, "What do you guys think will be the reveal at San Diego Comic Con or PowerCon?" Well, with me, I always told you, even if I hear rumor mills or something, I always try to avoid stuff because I hate spoilers. So I sometimes like saying stuff that probably there's no way in hell it's going to happen. But would I love to see a new vehicle and maybe them show a land shark so the evil warriors could finally have something, or see Mantisaur for Hordak? That's stuff I would love to see. As for what I think's coming, I really don't. I don't have a clue. I think that's what gets me more excited. But yes, I'd love to see Land Shark. I'd love to see Mantisaur. Any of the other different accessories, and like how Tyler loves, Stilt Stalker and the Mega
Oh God,
Laser.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the Jet Sled or Sky Sled. I mean, any of the, because I know you can't use one title, so I don't even know what the hell they'd call it. But those would be great. But anything that just is I guess, a shocker. If they showed some cool new vintage stuff as well, like what if they did show Slamurai and then the Snake Horde Trooper in vintage form? I'm like, wait, what just happened? And it has the original Errol McCarthy artwork that was playing for him. That would be on the back. Joe would probably lose his shit or lose his stuff. Sorry about that.
Now
But
you done dropped an F bomb. You said shit multiple times in
did
it.
I?
There's no going back at this point.
I'm
The
sorry
kids
if
that
I
are
did.
staying up late to watch this, they're already being told,
Get out.
all right,
Leave.
son, I'll let you go, but just don't repeat the words you hear come from the guy in the mask.
Sorry about that, guys. If I did do that, I really didn't know. I just got excited, so I'm sorry if I did do that. Tyler, I take your word. If you said I said it a couple times, I didn't know. I apologize for that.
You didn't know? Hell, we all heard it. We just didn't tell you.
Exactly. This person didn't pop up in the chat room. You said this, but no, go ahead, Tyler. Some of your thoughts
Your
you
mouth
want to
that
say.
was soap, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm all about the classics. That's all I'm concerned with, unless of course, we get Hero and Eldor complete announced like when they're going to be coming out. But classics. To me, it's always about the classics. I'm hoping to God, we get Azrog and Spydra and Malactha and Dragoon. I mean, there's an ungodly amount of characters from Filmation. Prince Dacon from Secret Liquid of Life, one of Larry Houston's visual creations. That's another guy I would absolutely love to get.
Give us the kobolds in Army Builder.
That's another one I would absolutely love to see. I mean, there's so many great things that I think when you bring it up to like the fans and talking, they're like, I don't want that, I want this. But when you drop it and you see what the Four Horsemen have done, it's hard to argue that. I mean, like when it was Plundor was announced, I'm like, oh my god. And then when I got home and saw it, because that was before I had internet on a phone, um, I like it's Plundor, but he does look good. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, you can't argue with the results. Like, God, you know what? We need more new adventures characters. We need KO. We need Lizor. We need Staghorn and Butthead. We
I
need
want big old Sagittar. I want a big
Sagittar. We need Sagittar. We need Artilla. Damn it, man! There's so many great Galactic Guardians, and that's what I'm calling them, not Galactic Protectors. The hell with this Chris Pratt movies. The Galactic Guardians. We need KO. We need Visar. We need Nocturna. We need Artilla. We need Sagittar. I mean, they're right there. I mean, more new Adventures figures.
Did a Chris Pratt reference just drop on our show? Did you actually bring up Chris Pratt?
Yes, I slammed Chris Pratt, and I take great pride in that. You know what? I will find any opportunity I will to slam that guy, no matter the repercussions of how many people love Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right. Well,
so, but and of course, it's always like a snowball's chance in hell, but that Super 7 manages to get the rights to do live action figures. So
that's what makes it fun.
I'm not holding my breath on that one. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, you know what? It probably is not going to happen based on all the problems and loopholes and issues that come along with getting those rights because of the rough story that goes along with the guy who's got those rights.
Sure. And that's why I pretty much don't get too excited about wanting to say what I really want, because then the thought of them not coming, I don't have to be let down. So I just love the excitement. I love the surprise of everything. So thanks for that question. Also, Grimbot in the chat room did have to say something when I was talking about that weird angle of He-Man Battle Cat. He popped right up. He says, I know that. He said, James finds it silly too. So, okay, there you go. I guess somebody else does not like that goofy angle of He-Man Battle Cat.
See, when I just said that Grimbot can pop up with stuff, I mean, he's like a Roboto of knowledge. You just ask him, and it just pops it right out immediately. Like, I mean, he is Roboto. So I'm not joking when he can deliver the goods too. So, there's living proof. I mean, we could ask. I was trying to think of like a random question we could just throw out to Grimbot. I mean, because he's the guy that told me that throughout that Cambro's original look served as one of the prehistoric cavemen in prehistoric times on Eternity. I'm like, what are you telling me, Cambro? That's not Cambro.
That was
they showed me the model sheet and everything. I'm like, okay, this was their original design for Cambro, but they use it for the caveman. It was not Cambro in story. It's just the model sheet that they used. And that's something I had not known, and that's due to our buddy Grimbot. So
he's got the knowledge. And I was gonna say we have one more quick question before we do a quote from Zentron, who he loves doing the movie quote as well. But Justin Hearn had a question. He says, "Weren't the new Super 7 cards?" He said the new vintage style supposed to be resealable. It wasn't the vintage, was it?
I think that there I think that was something about the
The
ultimate
Ultimates.
super. Yeah, the
Yeah,
ultimates were supposed to be resaleable. Yeah,
we did that at the same time. Me and Taylor both remembered. Yeah, it was the Ultimate figures, so the 6.5 to 7 inch ones. Those were supposed to be resaleable, but it didn't happen. But still, doesn't make them nonetheless any cooler to open or keep sealed and closed. But yeah, I know some people do like the resealable packages. Just might have been too expensive. You never know. I don't know what goes into that.
yeah. I mean, it can't be cheap. I mean, Super Seven is not. They're not Mattel. So it's we have to cut this and cut that so we can get this in return. So I mean, that's I know that people like to have that, but at the end of the day, I want a quality character that I can put on my shelf more than the package. Of course, had I gotten the opportunity to get those ultimate figures, I'd have kept them all in card. I wouldn't have taken those out at all.
Right.
But um, yeah, I'm going to pick the figures over more than anything because vintage is the only thing I'm concerned about keeping on card at this point. Anything new is coming out of the package because vintage is where it's at for me. Seeing this beautiful card art with the exploding rock and the chrome lettering.
Hell, I was so obsessed with that as a kid that I told you that I cut the tops of the cards just to keep the card art when I was a kid. I look back at it now thinking, damn, I wish I would have kept the whole card because some of the little
Well,
stuff.
all of it looked good. I mean, the cross
Yeah,
cell art to me was just as
yeah.
impressionable as the illustration of Cyclone turning backwards and seeing Battle
That's
Armor
yeah,
Skeletor hunkering down with the sword over these geysers and all that
yeah.
stuff.
That's what I
Oh,
got
it was
picked
just
with. That's because what's cool is on the back of the cards, even when they showed the action feature, there's unique
yeah.
drawings for that too. And I was like, but hey, I did keep every top of those pieces of art. I have a stack of them from my childhood, so well, there's that. And okay, well, now I'll do Zentron's movie quote before I pass it to you with your final thoughts. And his movie quote is, "You killed him?" And then says, "No, he's just stunned. He'll be okay in a few minutes." Wait, that sounds so damn familiar. I should know this one. Oh, I wish I could hear voices. You killed him? No, he's just stunned. He'll be okay in a few minutes. I know that. I know that. Um,
Oh my god, I'm like having an image in my head of the oh my god, you
I was
killed him.
thinking. I
Oh
was
wait,
thinking
it'd
of the
be
Naked Gun, but I don't think
say
it's the
sorry,
Naked.
say the line again, Joe.
You killed him. No, he's just stunned. He'll be okay in a few minutes. I'm thinking of the Naked Gun. I thought like when he shot that dart at Ludwig.
Yeah, it is Naked Gun.
Was it? Because it
Yeah,
sounds like oh he did. Yeah, it was a woman. A woman said that to him. She was
yeah,
like,
I won't.
"You
Yeah,
killed him." Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love that. Good job, Zetron. I like that. I knew it was sounding slightly familiar, but what a
yeah,
quote.
that's when he. I mean, because it was such a vague quote too. But the more you kept saying, I'm like, okay, it's ringing a bell. You killed him. No, he's just stunned. Yeah,
Just
that's when
exactly.
that's when he shoots Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah. Was Ludwig or whatever or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vincent Ludwig. Yeah,
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Cool. So all right. Well, guys, again, I'm going to pass it to here and Tyler in a second, but thank you so much for joining us this week. I mean, it was a blast having you here in the chat room and trying to answer all your questions. And of course, just the chat. And I always say, love having you here and hope you enjoyed it. But I'm going to pass it to Tyler now. Go ahead, Tyler. What you got?
yeah. I mean, it's always fun to do those questions. We'll have to do another like fan appreciation episode too, where we just answer questions the entire time. It's the more turnouts we're getting for this, like to have people in advance send us questions plus people in the chat room. Like we have to try that again too, where we just sit and answer questions the entire time. Um, but again, I want to say, please show your support to get Slammer and the Snake Trooper, put out along with the rest of the Snake Men in classics form and in vintage form. Um, Kevin Sharp is taking commissions currently right now. So if you'd like to have your customized He-Man, Thundercat, Batman, Spider-Man, whatever you get, preferably He-Man, Thundercats, of course, but I say Spider-Man, Batman because they're my favorite superheroes. If you have something you'd like to have commissioned, Kevin is currently taking commission offers right now. He's done some beautiful, stunning He-Man and Thundercat artwork. So I highly recommend you check out his Facebook and Instagram and DeviantArt as well. Um, and check out Joe Amato's Customs. I'm still waiting for him to do a custom of Hero, which he just kind of seems to just kind of scoot the issue quite often all the time.
We've got another hero from another arrogant son. No, hey, you know
I
what's
know.
really hard to do? I still got to do more to this, obviously, sculpting it with the armor, new details. But damn it, is it hard to sculpt a rhino's head to make for a vintage figure? Because somebody's wanting me to make a vintage Rhino style figure, and he said like maybe some cool chromed up like horns and stuff, and I'm sculpting
Yeah.
evil eyes in the nostril, but that's a hard thing to do, is sculpting a rhino's head. It's like, damn, that's
Yeah,
tough.
no shameless, product placement, plug right there.
Right here on Fans of Power, Joe Model Custom Creations. There, I did it. I said I'd never promote my stuff on the show. I'm doing it. I'm a cheap whore. I'm a
Because
whore.
he's an egomaniacal thief.
I
He's
am.
he turns it over to me to talk, and then he decides, so wait, hold that thought.
I ran
I've
with it.
got this. This could be
Exactly.
yours.
He mentioned Joe Model Customs, and I just ran with it. That's terrible. I should be shamed for that. But,
I
well,
know you should be castrated with like a rusty fishing hook.
wow, that's pretty damn bad.
It is.
Okay, guys. Well, again, thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope to see you next week. So until next time, have a powerful day.
Utah, give me two.
I'm not saying Point Break.
I was gonna say you better know that.
Exactly.
It's like Rawhead Rex,
Yeah,
Toxic Avenger.
we're gonna talk about some Rawhead Rex one time, but okay, guys, see you next time.
All right, later.